Get your filthy hands off the CEO's daughter. That was the first thing people heard when the music stopped at the gala. A voice sharp enough to cut glass echoing through crystal chandeliers and hushed gasps. But the janitor, Daniel Moore, didn't let go. His arms were steady, his jaw tight, his eyes locked on the little girl choking in front of him. Her face had gone pale, her chest rising in desperate, ragged gasps. He'd only seen her in passing before, a quiet kid always tagging along at the skyscraper where he cleaned floors. But in that frozen moment, nothing else mattered. He wrapped his arms around her, pushed once, twice. Then suddenly, a chunk of filet landed on the marble floor with a dull slap. The girl wheezed, then drew in the sweetest sound in the world, a full breath. And right then, instead of applause, instead of relief, Daniel heard another scream. "Get away from her!" shouted Evelyn Cross, the company's iron-fisted CEO. She rushed forward, panic twisting her face. She didn't see a man saving her daughter. She saw a uniformed janitor clutching her only child, and she saw a powerful investor named Victor Hale glaring across the room, his lips curling in outrage. "You're fired!" Evelyn snapped, her voice trembling, but absolute. "Get him out!" Two guards seized Daniel by the arms. His heart slammed in his chest. Fired. This wasn't just a job, it was medicine for his son Liam. Rent. A fragile stability he'd fought tooth and nail to build. And now, because he dared to save a child's life, it was gone. "Mom, no, he saved me." The little girl rasped, her voice breaking, but Victor Hale was already guiding her away, a smooth serpent whispering, "Shh. You're in shock, sweetheart. You're safe now." He cut her off from her mother's line of sight like a curtain closing on the truth. Daniel didn't resist as they dragged him out. He'd seen this before, the way powerful men rewrote reality in real time. He'd once been in their world. But that was another life, a life buried under shame and whispers of fraud. Now he was just a janitor with a sick kid at home, tossed aside like trash. The walk back to his apartment that night was long. The city lights blurred, not from rain, but from the weight pressing against his chest. When he finally opened the door, the smell of macaroni and crayons hit him. Liam looked up from his drawing inhaler beside him, eyes shining with hope. "Did you bring dessert?" "Dad?" Daniel forced a smile, lying through his teeth. "They ran out, buddy." Rich folks cleared the table. He ruffled his son's hair, masking despair with weary humor. But when Liam whispered, "You look sad," Daniel's throat tightened. "Just tired," he lied again. He tucked his boy into bed, listening to the fragile rhythm of his breathing. And alone in the kitchen, he let his head drop into his hands. Saving a child had cost him everything. Across town, Evelyn Cross wasn't sleeping either. Her daughter's words replayed over and over. "He saved me." Then the waiter approached her with a small silver tray. On it sat a chewed piece of steak, the perfect size to choke a child. Her hand trembled. Maybe she had made a terrible mistake. She pulled up Daniel's employee file, barely a page long. Hired 2 years ago. No commendations, no complaints, no past. But Evelyn wasn't stupid. A man who could move with that kind of precision, who could save a life in seconds without hesitation, that wasn't training from a first aid pamphlet. That was muscle memory. That was expertise. And then she found it. A name buried in old articles. Dr. Daniel Moore, once a rising pediatric surgeon, 5 years ago accused of falsifying research data, stripped of his license, publicly ruined. And the man who had testified against him, a junior researcher named Kevin Lyman, who had vanished right after the trial. The company that bought the patents from Daniel's work folded neatly into Hale Pharmaceuticals, Victor Hale's empire. Evelyn's blood ran cold. She realized she hadn't just fired a janitor. She had walked straight into a trap set by Victor Hale, and Daniel was the collateral damage. She drove to his apartment herself. The hallway smelled of old paint and boiled cabbage. When the door opened, a boy's face appeared, first serious eyes that mirrored his father's. "Can I help you?" he asked. And then Daniel appeared behind him, protective hand on his son's shoulder, staring at her like she was a loaded gun. "You're far from your glass tower," he said flatly. "I came to apologize." Evelyn blurted, "You saved my daughter's life. I fired you for it. I was wrong." Daniel's laugh was bitter empty. "An apology doesn't pay rent. It doesn't buy inhalers. People like you fix your conscience with words, not with actions." She offered him his job back, even a promotion. He shook his head. "Why?" "So your board can whisper about the crazy janitor, so Hale can finish what he started. I've lost everything once because of a man like him. I won't let it happen again." The door was closing when Liam's small voice cut through. "Dad didn't tell you the important part. My dad used to be a doctor." The hallway froze. Evelyn's eyes widened. A doctor. It all clicked. But Daniel slammed the door shut, sealing himself back in the cage of silence he'd lived in for years. Evelyn stood there, heart pounding. She had come to apologize. Now she was standing on the edge of something far bigger, a conspiracy, a theft, maybe even a murder. She vowed then and there not just to make it right, but to expose Victor Hale. But Hale struck first. Daniel's landlord called threatening eviction after a security warning from Cross Industries. The walls were closing in. Daniel was running out of time. And Liam. His latest tests showed his condition worsening. The experimental treatment they needed wasn't covered by insurance. It cost more than Daniel could make in a lifetime. That's when Evelyn showed up again, this time not with words, but with proof. A file that connected Hale directly to Daniel's ruined career. She told him, "He stole your research. He built his empire on your name, and he's trying to sell it to me." Daniel's jaw tightened. For years, he had hidden, survived. But looking at his son, at the future slipping away, he realized running wasn't safety. It was surrender. "I'll help you," he said. "But this isn't about your company. This is about what he stole from me and my son." Together with Dorian, Evelyn's head of security, they tracked Kevin Lyman to a cabin in Maine. But when Daniel knocked, the door swung open to reveal more than fear. Hale had laid the perfect trap. His enforcer, Silas, bound Daniel in seconds while Hale's face appeared on a phone screen, smug and venomous. "By noon tomorrow, Evelyn signs the deal. If she doesn't, your son pays the price. I know how fragile his lungs are." Daniel's blood went ice cold. This wasn't just about him anymore. Hale was threatening Liam. But Hale didn't know Evelyn had a card of her own. Dorian hacked into Silas's phone, capturing every word of Hale's confession, the fraud, the threats, the whole twisted scheme. Evelyn listened to the recording in her car, her hand trembling. She had him. But if she released it too soon, Hale would kill Daniel before the FBI could even get there. So she staged the final move. She called Hale, agreed to sign, invited him to her office at 11:45 sharp. The next morning, Hale strolled into her glass-walled boardroom, smug as ever. "Glad you came to your senses," he purred. He slid the contract across the desk. Evelyn didn't sign. She pressed play. And the room filled with Hale's own voice. "I ruined him. I bought the patents. If she refuses, I'll make sure his son doesn't survive." The color drained from his face. He lunged for her phone, but two security men blocked his path. Evelyn leaned forward, eyes like steel. "Pick up your phone, Victor. Call Silas. Tell him to let Daniel go. Do it now, or this file goes to the FBI, the SEC, and every newsroom in the country. Checkmate." Hale's hand shook as he dialed. "Silas, it's over. Release them." Minutes later, Daniel's voice crackled over the audio feed. We're free. Lyman's with me. We're safe. Evelyn exhaled relief, flooding her chest. Seconds after FBI agents stormed her office, slapping cuffs on Victor Hale as cameras flashed in the lobby below, his empire collapsed overnight. Weeks later, the headlines weren't about Evelyn's company. They were about justice. Hale behind bars. Lyman turning witness. Daniel Moore, once disgraced, now proven innocent. His medical license was already under review. But the best moment wasn't in a courtroom. It was in a hospital room where Daniel sat beside Liam as doctors explained the new therapy funded quietly by a foundation Evelyn created in her daughter's name. His lung capacity is already improving, the specialist said. Daniel's eyes brimmed with tears he hadn't allowed himself in years. His boy was breathing easier. One afternoon in the park, Liam chased a soccer ball, laughing without gasping for air. Daniel sat on a bench with Evelyn beside him. She handed him a proposal. A new division inside her company focused on ethical research. "I want you to lead it, Dr. Moore," she said softly. Daniel stared at his name on the document, bold and clean. For the first time, he believed it. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He wasn't a ghost. He was a father, a doctor, and a man finally reclaiming what was stolen. But here's the thing. Should he have trusted Evelyn at all? She fired him in front of hundreds. She nearly destroyed him before she made it right. Some people say redemption is enough. Others say certain mistakes can't be undone. What do you think? Can the powerful ever truly make up for the harm they cause? Or do second chances belong only to those who never abused their power in the first place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand. And if this story struck a chord, hit that subscribe button, because the next one might just change how you see justice forever.